Residents of Sapon, Abeokuta and Ogun State took to the streets to demonstrate their dissatisfaction over the scarcity of new Naira notes and the attendant excruciating pains of the new Naira policy and petroleum products. On Tuesday, the 7th of February 2023, the protesters were seen chanting protest songs on Aladeshami, Fajol and Shomori in Obatoko area of Abeokuta. Now, protesters blocked the popular more in Ashere area in the state along Abeokuta-Ibadan Road, while another protest was witnessed at Panseke area. Now, the scenarios forced some business owners to lock up their stalls over fear of being attacked by angry residents who cannot access their monies at various banks. Protesters set fire on unused tires at Moore Junction, thereby obstructing traffic, and inbound Abeokuta-Ibadan Express. They did this because of their displeasure over the current situation across the country. Now, we all recall that the Central Bank of Nigeria last October announced that it was redesigning the 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira banknotes. Godwin Emefiele, the CBN governor, had announced on the 31st of January as the deadline for the expiration of old banknotes. Now, due to public outcry trailing the currency scarcity, Mr. Emefiele extended the deadline till February 10. Now, he added that money deposit banks would continue to receive the old banknotes even after the deadline, despite the deadline extension. However, the scarcity of the new notes has still persisted. And joining us to discuss this and more is Ambrose Igboke. He's a public affairs analyst. Mr. Igboke, so good to have you join us. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Good evening. I'm sure that you, just like every other Nigerian, is feeling the pain. I'd like to add excruciating pain of not being able to access your money. You do know that you have money, but you're unable to get access to it because of, the situation of mopping up all of the old notes. And now, just as I said in my intro, we're seeing a lot of public outcry and some people have resorted to violence. Did you ever see this coming when the CBN first announced that this monies were going to be taken back in and of course new monies rolled out?
Well, first of all, most Nigerians depend on daily subsistence for survival. So they make their money daily, easy to feed, they go out the next day, and so they live at that subsistence level. And the majority of Nigerians live at that level. So they need cash to transact. Now, you have denied them of that. A lot of businesses have closed. You have denied families of income. You have snuffed out small businesses. Change of design of currency is something that comes up, from time to time. The CBN cannot pretend not to know that it has the power to change money from time to time, and therefore plan for it. You don't just wake up as if you are stung by a bee, and then you jump up from the bed in October, and now phasing out of new Naira notes, old Naira notes in 3 months' time, then introduce the new one by December 15, and under 40 days, you expect those new ones to circulate from December 15 to January 31st. I don't know who is telling the CBN governor these fairy tales. I don't know whether he knows the sheer volume of a lot of logistics that goes with this. And for a chief governor not to know that there's something wrong. There's something fundamentally wrong with either the processes or the man himself who is the CBN governor.
So Ambrose, you're saying that this wasn't a clearly thought out plan? I'm sorry, do you not think that this was a clearly thought out plan before it was rolled out? Did you not think that they did some feasibility studies before they decided to take this stand?
Yeah, there was no plan. There was no plan. It was as if it was impulse. Because if you plan, commonsensically, logically, you know that this won't work. Now, the CBN, I thought they were planning very well initially when they placed a withdrawal limit, saying they don't want people to have access to it to manipulate the election. That was sounded logical. Then you place a limit. Now, after placing that limit, that should have taken care of those people who are afraid that will spend large amounts of money for election buying or vote buying. Now, you went ahead and ensured that the people were starved of the new Naira notes. They sent back the old Naira notes, they circulated back to the ATMs and across the counter, and the banks they were not giving. Then in a panic measure just before Christmas, you started releasing money in churches to banks, so you are controlling it. And when it backfired, you started blaming the commercial banks. Yeah, I agree that some commercial banks they involved in some unwholesome practices. But the problem is not by the CBN. Common sense says that you cannot mop up over 2 trillion naira and you print a mere 300 billion naira. You want that to circulate. So we shouldn't be absorbing CBN of improper planning.
I'm curious.
Why the commercial banks have their own blames to take? The CBN should be ready to take large portion of the blame.
Okay.
Lack of foresight.
I totally understand where you're coming from. Of course, every Nigerian is feeling this pain, but I'm trying to understand to what end would the CBN government, of course, under the purview of Mr. President, what do you think the end game would be if you're saying that it's not about fighting vote buying? It was an impulsive thing. It was a spur of the moment plan. But why would they want to put us in this kind of, look at what we're going through as it is. Look at the kind of uproar that it's getting. What do you think the end game is here if all of this wasn't thought out and now this is the blowback? What do you think government is trying to get out of it?
Now, some people have started saying, and there's a school of thought that is urging, that maybe, just maybe, that this is deliberate to cause confusion in the land. Because there's nothing else that explains this bedrock. At one side, you are stifling off businesses, Nigerians cannot have access to their money, papers are flaring up. On the other hand, you are ensuring that there's no petroleum products collecting. People cannot buy kerosene to cook. People cannot buy fuel for their generators, cannot buy fuel for their cars and other vehicles. Simultaneously, elections are just 2 weeks away. What them to believe is not deliberate. So many Nigerians have started saying, is this deliberate? Because it has never happened this way. So, if it is not deliberate, there must be actions taken. It's either the National Security Maintenance and Operating Company needs more money to meet the demands of Nigerians, or they allow the old notes and the notes to circulate for some months. So that we stop all this pressure we are putting Nigerians under. But to banks, you cannot say so much. In fact, today I went to a branch of my bank, I'll call the name, I tell you in Enugu here, and people were not even asking. Some of the bank branches are closed. People are started getting angry. You have seen videos of bank staff in their neighborhood being attacked, being belayed on the way. Today, the bank branch I went to, the security men could not wear their uniforms. They were mostly for fear of being lynched. Is that how we want to operate in society? For a single matter that should go seamlessly. Very soon this year, UK will change their currency. And it will circulate with the old one for years. Up to like 2 years.
Okay.
Why our own is always different?
Let's talk about some of the positives that some certain pundits have pointed to. Many people have said that the new Naira shortage has triggered a lot more, online banking and digital banking, making people resort to transfers. But then, of course, we also have the situation of the bank transfers also having a problem, the platforms all crashing as a result of the fact that they've seen the kind of traffic that they've never experienced before?
Well, let me tell you, all these things are cosmetic explanations. Are we not supposed to track our Naira before? Those Nairas were not being tracked before. There is the failure of the agency that is responsible for that. People should not be using excuses of that fear or inefficiency to cause trouble for Nigeria. Our Naira is not supposed to be tracked. Each Naira has its own tracking number. Like a security feature that can be tracked. If somebody is not tracking it, then it is the agency responsible for that. So why will I pay for another person's failure? And then when you talk of online banking, because you have moved within a short while offline banking into online banking, all the bank apps are crashing. Online banks are crashed in Nigeria in the last 1 week. You pay in, the money keeps hanging from 1 week, from 2 weeks, it doesn't drop. Today, the bank I went to say it is only their own bank they can transfer to. You can't move your money to another bank. Is that what you call online banking? So you have allowed the system to crash. Because it's taking more volume that it's prepared to take. Even in the so-called advanced economies like China and the United States, they are still using cash heavily there.
Okay. Let's talk about...
Please, they should spare us of all this rhetoric.
Let's talk about the fact that 3 APC states have sued the federal government over the scarcity of the new Naira notes. And many more people are still pushing for an extension of the dates. I mean, this is Mr. President's, party members saying that this particular move is targeted at them and the presidential candidate. But generally looking at the situation of things, and also as an analyst, where do you see all of this going, knowing that we're just 18 days away from elections kicking off in earnest? And where do we really go from here? Because Mr. President has also come out to say, oh, let's give him 7 days and he's going to turn things around. Is Mr. President's word anything that we can go by?
But the first thing they should do is they are fighting vote buying. They should ensure that the withdrawal limit that was placed by the CBN is obeyed by the commercial banks and even by the CBN itself. Because CBN will just set this route, and this the so-called big men have access to this thing. We also in December during Christmas, the way people were forcing the new Naira notes and bundles. People were even seeing it in parties. And the poor man cannot even access his own money. So they should adhere strictly to the limitation, to the withdrawal limit. Because if adhere strictly to that withdrawal limit, then the person cannot actually have access to that cash. And they should monitor people now multiple accounts to show that they will withdraw like that per day. And then they can call the security agencies to track them up. So in that way, you can take care of both buying. Now, if you say you want to insist that the other money, the old money was not circulated beyond February 10. How can you do that? Are they giving the bank branches all the money? The bank branches are saying they don't have cash. CBN is saying we are giving cash. They say we don't have cash. Some of them tell us in confidence what they are going through. And they are afraid to speak us because CBN is the regulator and they land the hammer. Granted, there are some unscrupulous bank managers that are trading on it. Okay. When the old note was circulated, did you hear anybody trading on it? Because it was available. It's when you don't have something available that you start creating like a theory. So CBN should make it available. And stop all this nonsense they do by going to banks and say, we saw something in your vote, you don't see something in your vote. If it's available, when we hide it in the vote, that can deal with it.
We also saw that the EFCC arrested a certain bank operations manager from a, and what we see is that there's no name for the bank manager. We do not know what bank it was. But then many have queried the CBN and the motive. If you really want to deal with this situation, as you say, that these people are herding these monies, why hide their names and the name of the banks that they are operating, in? Why don't you make it public so that it would be a name and shaming thing, and so that every other bank, as they say, which is who is holding these monies, would do the needful, as opposed to just saying Mr. Nobody was caught at Mr. Nobody's bank. I mean, how serious do you think the CBN is with dealing with these so-called banks that are holding on to monies and not dispensing them to the public?
Well, CBN cannot name the banks. I don't think they have the guts to do that. Because let me tell you, when they do that, the commercial banks will also call names in CBN. The people at these commercial banks are not just doing it on their own. They have some bad books. So we should not be chasing shadows and leave the substance. Substance is, by this time last month, nobody was buying up Naira notes. By this time 2 months ago, nobody was buying Naira notes. Or 3 months ago, nobody was carrying on Naira notes. It is because of that activity that is causing this nonsense. So deal with the root cause of the problem and stop chasing shadows. CBN is chasing shadows.
Okay.
When the Naira is available, nobody will racketeer with it.
Okay.
So what are you instead of treating the sickness, you are treating symptoms. That's what we call root cause analysis. The root cause analysis of this is that you mentioned money that cannot go around even the citizens to spend for their daily economy. And now because it is scarce, it is being hoarded and it's being traded. These POS people that are spending money, because you know how they were collecting stuff I want 10,000 when the money was available. Was anybody asking you for money when you go to bank before now? Was the bank telling you that they don't have notes before now? It's because of the scarcity. So that's the root cause.
All right. Well,
when you make the thing available and there's so much scarcity, well, nobody will hold the money, nobody will sell the money as a exorbitant price, and nobody will racket with the Naira. Well,
we live in very interesting times where Naira is being bought by Naira. Well, I want to say thank you. Ambrose Igboke is a public affairs analyst. We're hoping that we're looking forward to better days. Hopefully, this eases off before election day, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. Thank you so much, Ambrose, for speaking with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, we'll take a quick break. Thank you for staying with us. When we come back, we'll be discussing Dogara's comments on the North completing 14 years to meet up with the South. We'll be having our guests join us right after this break. Stay with us.